culture is something that exists all over the world. Whether it is British football fans trying to celebrate their favorite team and show their support, or the Taylor Swift fans trying to desperately get hold of the Eras Tour tickets, fan culture can be found literally everywhere and anywhere. But arguably, nowhere does it like Japan. Fan culture, also known as oshi culture, is a huge industry in Japan, typically centered around supporting your favorite celebrity, idol, anime character, or franchise. You will find an abundance of merchandise for pretty much every single thing that you can imagine. Akihabara is stocked high with idol merchandise and memorabilia, and for franchises like Sanrio, you can find their merchandise everywhere, even in airports. In Japan, there are constant pop-up stores and collaborations that you'll just encounter in the train station. Japan is riddled with fan culture, and one very specific fandom trend that came from Japan is the Ita Bag. But recently, on TikTok, there has been some discourse surrounding Ita Bags, arguing about what an Ita Bag is, what an Ita Bag should contain, how you should build an Ita Bag, and how a bag that has pins in it isn't necessarily an Ita Bag. So as always, let's get right into it. So for those of you who may not be familiar what an Ita Bag is, let me explain. So Ita Bag directly translates to painful bag, and the reason why it's called that is because it's a labor of love. It's an expensive hobby and thing to collect. These badges and keychains can sometimes be very, very limited edition and hard to collect. And so for people curating a dedicated display, it usually costs a lot of their time and money. A recent example of these limited edition collaborations or pop-ups is the Needy Streamer Overload X Sweets Paradise collaboration. So this pop-up cafe was a limited time thing, and like a lot of pop-ups in Japan, they also had a lot of limited edition merchandise which you could only purchase at the event, with some of these being wall scrolls, acrylic standees, and badges. However, if you're like me and you weren't able to attend this collaboration, the aftermarket prices for a lot of the merchandise is really expensive, with a single pin badge costing anywhere from £15 to £50 depending on the artwork and the popularity of that design. And so as you can imagine, if you wanted to do a dedicated repeating bag of that specific badge design, you'd be spending a lot of time and money trying to find it. In some sense, Ita Bags are very, very similar to other otaku hobbies like figure collecting or Gundam. The bigger the fan, the more likely you are to spend a lot more money on it. Ita Bags first started emerging around the early 2010s with the newfound sense of enjoyment and pride in otaku culture. I mean, the early 2000s and 2010s were a great time for anime. Now, in terms of design, Ita Bags can range from very small to very big. Some bags can be as small as an A5 window display, and others can be as big as an A3. And the main design aspect of an Ita Bag is the clear display window. And like we've already mentioned, these window displays are used to show off your fan memorabilia. Most of the time it is pin badges and keychains, but sometimes it can be plushies or plush mascots. Other times it can straight up be artwork or cool items that are part of that fandom. One pretty popular design that you'll see within oshi culture and Ita Bags is a repeating pattern design. This is where somebody may have a favorite design on a badge and chooses to have a whole bag dedicated to that badge's design, meaning they might have an entire bag dedicated to 20 pins that all look the same. These layouts tend to look very, very clean and symmetrical and also show a certain level of dedication. And again, depending on the exact design that you're choosing, if it's a limited edition or a pop-up item, you're going to be spending a lot of time and money trying to find it. Now, despite the Ita Bag being an inherently Japanese thing, actually covering stuff with pins, badges, and keychains of stuff that you like is an inherently alternative thing. It is not something that is exclusive to Japan. Customizing your items and showing your dedication to certain political beliefs or fandoms or bands is something that's been around for a very, very long time, like decades and decades. When I was in school, Ita Bags weren't popular and certainly weren't available, but I was still covering my bag that I took to school in tons of badges. These badges being of stuff that I like, or stuff that I cared and believed in. The core difference between an Ita Bag and just decorating your items with pins and badges is the Ita Bag is designed for that purpose. An Ita Bag is technically not an Ita Bag until you fill it full of things and decorate it. And because Ita Bags are specifically designed to show off your dedicated fandom, that's also why they have these special window display. Unlike when I was in school and people could just pick off my badges and keychains, this window display stops the ability for people to just rip them off your bag. And of course, it protects them from just falling off and getting lost, or getting dirty from the elements, or getting rained on. Again, it is specifically designed to show your fandom, but also protect expensive merchandise. And with Ita Bags becoming so popular so quickly, many small businesses decided to jump on the bandwagon and create their own. From a dimple Ita Bag from Mob Psycho to a pink coffin Ita Bag, no matter what your fandom, favorite color, or taste is, there's probably an Ita Bag designed to specifically accommodate it. And so you may be sitting there thinking, Addy, how does an Ita Bag cause so much drama and discourse on TikTok? And the answer is this video made by controversial content creator Twin Buns. Twin Buns, aka Sunny, is a Japanese-focused pop culture creator who on many occasions has shown off their variety of Ita Bags. But the video about Ita Bags that really ticked off TikTok was their latest video where they were criticizing Americanized Ita Bags and Artist Alley pricing. They also further expanded on their criticism by saying this in the description. Y'all hate me. I hate how much America has watered down what an Ita Bag is at its core. If I see one more bag bag with 7 random horribly positioned enamel pins, I'm gonna lose it. And of course, off the back of that, they went on to make many more video replies that garnered a lukewarm response at best, further explaining what they thought were the important differences between the Americanized Ita bags and the ones that you see in Japanese oshi culture.
And welcome to What Your Ita Bag Says About You, Part 1. If you have one of these overpriced, weird-shaped enamel pin Ita bags, you are either the small business that created it, or you got scammed at an anime convention. It's funny because the Western style of Ita bags are actually the ones that are, Christopher Columbusing Japanese traditional Ita bags. What if people in my comments are mad? What if I want to make an Ita bag of this anime that came out in 1983 that only had 1 pin design made of it and only 40 were sold ever and half of them got burnt down in a fire of the factory, so there's only 20 in existence? Babe, then you don't get to make an Ita bag of that show. I'm sorry. What do you want me to do about it?
And as you can probably imagine, it didn't go well. Within 24 hours, my For You page was flooded with people responding to Sunny's hot take, as well as using it as an opportunity to show their Ita bag in a defiant response.
If you want to give rage bait a face, it would be this creator right here. Believe it or not, this is not the first hot take I've seen from this creator. And every single time I have seen one of their hot takes, it's always super elitist. So obviously a lot of the internet and especially collectors just do not agree with their take on what an Ita bag is supposed to be.
I wasn't gonna make another video about this, but I hate elitism in fandom spaces, so I'm gonna be mean. Lollipop, you like My Hero Academia. That is a manga that is very popular, still in print, and gets a lot of fucking merchandise. I like Berserk. The author is dead. If we're getting merch, it's not cute little pins or like Nendoro. We're getting statues that cost thousands of dollars that nobody can fucking afford. Other manga that's not in print anymore that I really enjoy. Magi. There is no merchandise coming out. Battle Angel Alita. No merchandise in the field. Kira. Also, finished a long time ago. I will get a few silly enamel pins to show my love for the series. And I will put it with a bunch of other pins because that's what I have.
Funnily enough, I actually have 2 Ita bags of my own. Now, admittedly, my Ita bag is not the best. The base of the bag is very, very cheap just because it was something that I could afford at the time. But truthfully, I can only really handle backpacks or messenger bags when it comes to Ita bags and just general daily wear. For whatever reason, I just cannot stand a tote bag or a shoulder bag. It just really irritates me. Also, being brutally honest, I live in England, and realistically, if this was all on a shoulder bag, there's a good chance my stuff would get nicked. Not gonna lie, I actually really enjoyed people using it as an opportunity to show off their Ita bags to everyone. It was quite fun seeing how some people had decorated their bags or what they had decorated their bags with. I don't know, you don't typically get to see a lot of Ita bags unless you're at an artist alley, so seeing them online as part of this trend or drama was kind of fun. Obviously, I wasn't enjoying the drama of any of it, but I was enjoying seeing people's Ita bags because as a collector, I just genuinely appreciate understanding what people like to collect. One criticism that was quickly raised from Sunny's video is that a lot of fandoms don't have active merchandise being produced or have very limited merchandise, let alone trying to collect 20 of them to do a repeating Ita bag pattern. As a Serial Experiments Lane mega fan, I would have to sell a kidney in order to get a crumb of official merchandise to use within an Ita bag. Series like Berserk or Alien 9 also have diddly squat when it comes to cute collectible keychains or pin badges. Hell, even fan favorite series that are constantly talked about, such as Panty and Stocking or Nana, struggle with the availability of existing merchandise and the affordability of what's on offer. Not to mention that if you live outside of Japan, in order to get hold of a lot of official merchandise, you're gonna have to use a proxy shipping service in order to bring it to the UK or wherever you live. But of course, like most things, if you live in Japan, it's a lot easier to get hold of this merchandise. All you have to do is walk down to your local book off or Sudagaya, and you can literally pull out trays and trays and trays worth of different pin badges and collectibles. Now, another common complaint with Sunny's video is that the enamel pins and bags that they were complaining about are typically made by small businesses. And of course, these small businesses also cater to a massive amount of different fandoms, including ones that don't have little to any official merchandise. And unlike some of the hard to access official merchandise you'll see in Oshi culture, the fan-made merchandise can be a lot less restrictive and also have a lot more variety and a considerably lower price tag. Many indie brands that offer Ita bags typically have have to do crowdfunding in order to actually create them. The bulk of the stock made from the crowdfunding will go to the people who back the project, and the remaining will be used at in-person events or sold online. Many small businesses that make these goods operate out of their own home. Their business is operated by just themselves and maybe a couple of volunteers when it comes to shipping. They do not have warehouses to have pallets and pallets of stock, and they don't have the capital to buy stock up front. Typically, these Ita bags and pin designs only exist because there's enough demand for them. Not to mention that many people who again make this kind of merchandise use it as their full-time career. Many small shops understandably can't afford to price themselves the same as mass-produced Ita bags. It wouldn't be a sustainable business. I completely understand that $90 for a small windowed Ita bag is a lot of money. $90 for a lot of things is a lot of money. But again, that money goes towards the people who are directly designing and making the bag, to the people who are using their own homes as warehouses and using their friends and family as staff. You're not giving money to a mass corporation when you buy stuff from small artists. Not to mention that here in the UK, it can actually be really expensive to be a vendor at a convention. So like here in England, our largest anime convention is London MCM. Now typically the price for an artist alley table at London MCM is a few £100, which depending on what you're selling and how profitable you typically are at these events is not a lot. However, London MCM in the last couple years has been very cutthroat about who they're letting into the artist alley. Many regular vendors who are typically at this convention have had their applications rejected, which means if they want to sell their goods at London MCM, they have to pay for a more expensive table. And unlike the artist alley, this commercial tabling space is a lot more expensive, like way more. And so inevitably, artists are going to have to charge more in order to actually sell at events and make a profit. And if they were underselling their work, they definitely wouldn't be able to make that money back. When you're a shop within this niche and you sell to people within these spaces, attending these events in person is not only important to your profit margin, but also building a community who can support your work online. You need to get visibility at these events. But again, you also have to make money. Also, maybe it's just me, or maybe it's not, but when I go to an anime convention, I usually spend most of my money in the artist alley. And most of the artworks that I tend to get from the artist alley are usually pin badges, enamel badges, keychains, all fun and unique prints that I wouldn't be able to find elsewhere. In fact, I'm almost certain that most people that I know spend most of their money in the artist alley when it comes to conventions. I guess unlike Funko Pops or anime figures, it's a lot harder to discover these niche artists or small businesses unless you see them in person. Now, like any fandom, fashion, or niche, as more people get interested in it, the more it will evolve. The neat repeating pattern of the Japanese Oshi Ita bag may not be comparable to the more varied and maximalist look of the Western one. However, that doesn't mean that one bag is better than the other, or that the American Ita bag is not a real Ita bag. I think when it comes to fashion and fandom spaces, we can get a little bit too precious about protecting what something is. We can get a little bit touchy about allowing something to evolve or be experimented with, especially when it isn't necessarily coming from our culture or our country. But in reality, experimenting and having fun and pushing the boundaries of what something is how we keep fashion and fandoms alive. Yes, it's up to the fans to preserve the history and origins of what something is, but it's also up to the fans to experiment and push the limits of what it could be. And when we don't, we end up losing things. And especially here in the West, when quite often these things don't come from within our own culture, we can get really defensive when other people take it and add their own spin to it. We use terms like poser way too often, when realistically, to keep these spaces going, we need to allow people to join and try things out. Fandoms are kept alive by the fans when the shows are long over. I think repeating pattern Ita bags look really cool. And I also really like the westernized versions that have more maximalism. There's something funny and charming about seeing an autism monster sat next to a Yuri on Ice pin. It's goofy and fun and silly, and that really is what fandom is. It's there to be fun. For me at least, I feel like Ita bags are only there to be a visual marker of something that you love. They can signal your dedication to other fans, or they can just be a talking point when you're going to pick up your coffee. In the end, there is no wrong way to be a fan of something. You don't need to spend all your money or have the rarest merchandise. You don't have to hold the entire stock of a certain type of pin to be validated as a collector. Sometimes being a fan is as simple as enjoying it. And that's okay. Let me know, what do you think of Ita bag versus Oshi Ita bag culture? Do you prefer the repeating pattern Ita bags that you see from Japan, or do you prefer the slightly more maximalist, messy looking bags from here in the West? Do you have an Ita bag yourself? If so, what is your Ita bag about? Let me know in the comments below. I personally think Ita bags are a super fun way of displaying your pins and badges and keychains. I'm somebody that tends to buy a lot of these items when I go to conventions and then have no idea what to actually do with them when I get home. I also want to say a huge thank you for all the love that you guys gave me on my Q-Core video. I was not expecting it to get this many views. I wasn't expecting the spike in subscribers. It was literally my first video, and because it kind of felt like a niche topic, I was really only expecting a couple hundred views at most. But you guys really came came out of the woodwork to support me, leave your thoughts, and just engage with the video, and I really, really appreciate it. And hopefully you've enjoyed this video too. But as always, if you enjoyed my video, please hit the bell down below and subscribe to my page. I have already got the next video scripted and ready to film, so I'll be planning to try and release that in the next couple of weeks. I will see you on the next video. Bye! Just like before, here is a little look at today's outfit for the end of the video. So on my head, I have my aviator pilot goggles. I don't know, either way, I just love wearing these. They just look good, in my opinion, with like any kind of outfit. I just think they're super cool. As you can probably see, I changed my studs to lip rings, and I also don't have raccoon tails in my hair. This safety pin necklace is from Named Collective. This razor blade necklace is from Marc Jacobs, I believe. It's from their Heaven store in London. And now it is time to put my speech impediment to the test. This jumper is from 6th Dimension Shop. I do also have baggy cargos on from Named Collective, but you can't really see them, so like I'm not kind of including them in the outfit check, but I'm wearing those too.